In 1770, the British Parliament passed a law condemning lipstick, stating that any woman found guilty of seducing a man into matrimony by a cosmetic means would be tried for witchcraft. In 2013, a 59-year-old man named Alan Markovitz was upset at his ex-wife for cheating on him, bought a house next to hers and installed a giant $7,000 statue of a hand giving the finger aimed at her house. A person who drives 10 miles to buy a lottery ticket is 3 times more likely to die in a car accident than winning the lottery. It took approximately 75 years for the telephone to reach 50 million users, the radio, 38 years, 13 years for the television, 4 for the internet, 2 for Facebook, and only 19 days for Pokemon Go. The moon is capable of having moonquakes. They are less frequent and intense as the ones on Earth, however. The most popular sport in the world is football. Second place goes to cricket, followed by field hockey. Astronomers have found what appears to be one of the oldest known stars in the universe, which located about 6,000 light-years away from Earth. The ancient star formed not long after the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. In 2014, the Department of Transportation in Colorado was forced to change their mile marker from 420 to 419.99 just to get people to stop stealing their sign. There are gold glitter pills you can buy for $400 online that promise to turn your poop gold. There is a swing at the edge of a cliff in Ecuador that has no safety measures that hangs from a tree house overlooking an active volcano called the swing at the end of the world. Although the brain is physically developed by the age of 5, the rational part of a brain isn't fully developed and won't be until age 25. The brothers Adolf Dassler and Rudolf Dassler, who started Puma and Adidas, were part of the Nazi Party. If you removed all the empty space from the atoms that make every human on Earth, all humans on Earth could fit into an apple. Beaver eyelids are transparent, so they can see through them as they swim underwater. A study by the University of Westminster in the UK determined that watching horror movies can burn up to almost 200 calories, the same as a half-hour walk. During an emergency landing, a plane has the ability to dump its fuel from the wings to prevent it from exploding if it crashes. If you went through 17 tons of gold ore and 1 ton of personal computers, you'd find more gold from the personal computers. In 1949, the Prince Motor Company in Japan developed an electric car that could travel 124 miles 200 km on a single charge. There's a village in the Netherlands named Giethoorn that has no roads and can only be accessed by boats, having the nickname Venice of the Netherlands. In 2005, a Nepalese couple climbed Everest and got married on its peak. The youngest person to ever climb Everest was young Jordan Romero at the age of 13. Facebook tracks and records your IP address as well as the URL of every website that you visit that uses any of its social plugins, such as the like button. The modern handshake dates all the way back to the 5th century BC, where swordsmen would greet each other with their weapon hand-free, showing no sign of a fight. There's an inn in Idaho called the Dog Bark Park Inn, where guests can stay in the world's largest beagle. You enter the body of the beagle from a second-story deck. Up another level into the head of the dog is a loft, and there's an additional sleeping space and a cozy alcove in the muzzle. In 2014, Beyoncé made about $3.65 US every second. Actor Sean Bean is so terrified of flying that during the filming of Lord of the Rings, while shooting in remote mountain locations, he traveled via skylift and walked the remainder of the journey, all in full costume. According to a report from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's National Center for Health Statistics, American men now weigh, on average, 196 pounds 89 kg on average, 15 pounds 7 kg, more than 20 years ago, and women weigh 168 pounds 76 kg on average, which is 16 pounds 7 kg, more than 20 years ago. If you watch any classic Clint Eastwood film, you will often see his character smoking like Dirty Harry, despite the fact that Clint never smoked habitually in real life and actually practiced healthy dieting and meditation since his youth. There were over 13 couples celebrating their honeymoon on the Titanic. However, none of them survived upon impact and the subsequent sinking of the boat. The human aorta is the largest artery in the human body and is about the size of a garden hose. McDonald's in Hong Kong will soon host cheap McWeddings for couples at a cost of around $1,200 and will actually provide food, drink, and an apple pie for 50 people. 1/3 of all cancers are sun-related. The secret blend of 11 herbs and spices that made KFC famous is sold by Marion K. Spices under the name 99X. In 1791, at the Battle of the Wabash, 920 US Army soldiers faced about 1,100 Native American warriors. At the end of the battle, only 21 Indians were killed, whereas nearly the entire US force was wiped out, 6-3 killed, 258 wounded. This was a quarter of the entire Army's strength at the time. 14 years after publication, Dr. Seuss removed a reference to pollution in Lake Erie from the Lorax. Researchers informed him that the environmental efforts to restore the lake had been successful. The line was changed in subsequent editions. In 2010, a man who was lost in the woods of northern Saskatchewan chopped down some power lines so that workers from Crown Utility would have to come and rescue him. Claims by yogurt companies in the US that probiotic yogurt has beneficial health effects have all been rejected in the EU, due to insufficient research and thus inconclusive proof. Every Purple Heart awarded by the U.S. military since 1945 is one of the 500,000 Purple Hearts manufactured in anticipation of U.S. casualties resulting from the invasion of Japan, but was prevented by dropping the atomic bomb. In 1976, both Republicans and Democrats signed a Declaration of Interdependence stating that exploitation of the poor by the rich and the weak by the strong violates our common humanity and resources of the globe are finite, not infinite. At the height of the Irish potato famine in 1847, almost 4,000 ships carried food from Ireland to England and Scotland, while 400,000 Irish died of starvation and related diseases. The same year, a Native American tribe sent $710 to help ease the suffering. In 2006, Tom Hanks was inducted as an honorary member of the Army Ranger Hall of Fame for his portrayal of Capote Miller in the film Saving Private Ryan. The Higgs boson is nicknamed the God particle not because of its fundamental role in the universe, but because of Leon Lederman, a theoretical physicist who wrote a book about it in 1993, called it the goddamn particle, as it was so difficult to observe. Abraham Lincoln suffered from depression. He was scared to carry knives because he was afraid he'd kill himself. In the film Thank You for Smoking, none of the characters are ever seen smoking. Christian Bale turned down the role of James Bond, saying I've already played a serial killer. NASA Vehicle Assembly Building's interior volume is so vast that it has its own weather, with rain clouds forming below the ceiling on very humid days. The skin of an adult human covers about 18-20 square feet 2 square meters and weighs about 6 lb 7 kg. Percentage of total cerebral cortex volume human, frontal lobe equals 41, temporal lobe equals 22, parietal lobe equals 19, occipital lobe equals 18%. As many as 1 in 5 Americans will be affected by a mental illness sometime in their lives. Humans can hear sounds with frequencies between 20 and 20,000 Hz. Cats can hear frequencies between 160,000 Hz. Elephants can hear frequencies between 1 and 20,000 Hz. A Purkinje neuron in the cerebellum may receive 150,000 contacts from other neurons. The chemical known as ether was first used to manage pain during surgery in 1846 at Massachusetts General Hospital. Monarch butterflies migrate up to 3,000 kilometers 1.86 for miles. The word physician comes from the Greek word physis meaning nature. Panic disorders affect 2.4 million adults in the USA each year. The eye of an octopus does not have a cornea.